Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Rob Talks podcast. And this is episode 25. Now, today's episode is going to be all about understanding your value. Now, I think this is something that a lot of the time naturally goes unappreciated, and we don't understand enough actually the value that we bring as individuals to others, but also in understanding the value of us being ourselves and doing things the way that we do them and being confident in who you are. And I mean truly, authentically, deeply confident in who we are. Now, why am I talking about this? I'm talking about value because I am a designer by trade, but I'm also an entrepreneur. And something that comes within both of these worlds is this idea of value and the value that you can provide. And accordingly, in the entrepreneurial world, it's very much X value that you can provide then equals X amount of money that you can earn. And so much, it can be so easy for us to feel as though we have to undervalue ourselves. And then that means that we don't get paid, or we don't get paid in the way that is right for the amount of value that we are providing. And I think that isn't just something that happens within business. It's something that is actually ingrained deeply within the fact of that we have low self-confidence, or we have a perception, a mindset to do with our value and the value that we provide as being not that great. Now, I see this a lot, especially within, just as a generalization, but it's true in terms of with English people. It's very normal within our culture to kind of look down on ourselves and to kind of realize that we look at ourselves with a more pessimistic attitude, and even a more negative attitude in terms of what value we can provide. And we knock ourselves down because we believe that no one sees the value that we actually can provide. And so we have to find ways of how we can show off, say in the entrepreneurial world or in whatever career you are pursuing, the value that you can provide. But I, most importantly, with this idea of value, want to concentrate on you and you understanding your values and the value that you provide. And as I've said, so much of this comes down to your level of self-confidence. What makes you have the confidence that you can go and perform in X career, that you are X person that lives up to these beliefs and these values that fit to you? What makes you feel as though you are confidently, authentically yourself? That really is the value that is you, that is me, Robert McKinnon, that is you, the listener. It's the value that makes you. And I think, for one, something that we have to consider is how are we determining whether we actually provide value to the world, or whether we are, in a sense, valuable to others or to ourselves? Because there is this idea of that a lot of the time we take it from external affirmations. Now, external affirmations means comments on social media. It means your friends, family, it can be anybody just bigging you up and really supporting you. And then that means that, for example, within the design world, that means I design something and then people go, that's amazing, Rob. That's great. You've done an amazing job on that. That's fantastic. And I think that I am very much all for supporting peers and supporting friends, supporting family. But there's something that Gary Vaynerchuk, in fact, talks about, which is not listening to the comments from both sides. So not listening to the negativity and the negative comments, but also not listening to the positive comments. Now, what he means by this is not that you just don't listen to anybody, and so then that means that you're worth nothing, or that you are not valuable as a person or valuable as who you are. It actually means that you just don't base your value purely upon external affirmations. And don't get me wrong, external affirmations are great to give you that boost of adrenaline, to give you that buzz, that little hit of happiness that makes you feel as though, yeah, I am good. But then that is temporary. It lasts a few minutes, a few hours, a few days, maybe a few weeks. Dare I even say a month? And then it goes away. And we go back into ourselves of having lower confidence, of feeling as though we can't do what we do and we can't provide the value that we actually deep down know that we can provide. And so, number one, I think so much of working out your own value is looking internally into yourself and understanding from your experiences in your life where you have helped others, where you have purposely done things that you know has helped people to change their lives for the better, to just even being in their life is helping them. That service to others, and you being able to see how by you being in that equation as being their friend, as being their family member, as being their shoulder to cry on, as being their number one supporter, as being whoever you are within that relationship to that person, you have to understand that for you to do that, you have to provide value. So consequently, you are valuable. And we need to understand that ourselves, because I think so much of what brings anxiety into our world today and what brings about, unfortunately, so many of the reasonings of why people are committing suicide is because they're not seeing the value that is in themselves. They're not having the self-confidence to understand who they truly are and being able to understand that I, Robert McKinnon, know that I can provide X value in this field to whatever, doesn't matter. But ultimately, I am valuable as a human being. My life has value on it. And it has value on it for me to live my life, but also in to provide service to help others. And you, whoever is listening, you need to understand that your life is valuable and you are valuable. And you actually are someone of value. No matter how much of a shit situation you may be in right now in your life, however much you may be struggling, or maybe life is just not going the way that you're wanting it to, it feels as though fate is setting you out to fail or to struggle or to be ill or whatever it may be. You, as being a human being, will always have value behind you. And that doesn't need to be pulled from hearing other people's comments. That has to be pulled from your experiences, your self-confidence, and your, most importantly, personal responsibility. And so much of this comes down to our self-talk. It comes down to our mindset. And I think that we have to just find ways of how we can find out what is my value. And for one thing of what I do is literally write down what I am valuable for. And I don't set bars of comparison, because it is when we compare ourselves to others, or we compare ourselves to the perfect being or the perfect in whatever you're trying to determine value from, that's when we get stuck. That's when we get anxious, because you're not as good as X person, or you're not as good as X imaginary persona that you have created. But you are as good as you are. You are valuable and you are amazing as you. Yes, as humans, we're always growing, we're always developing, and there is always ways to get better. But you have to understand that you as the individual are valuable. And I think this for me is a topic that really hits home, because there are so many times, especially when looking at careers and thinking about design, thinking about entrepreneurship, that I myself have let my self-confidence go down too low. And I've not understood the value that I can provide to other people. And I've not understood the value that other people actually see in me, their perceived value of myself. I set the bar too low, and I always then don't reap the rewards that I should do from the value that I can provide and the valuable asset, if you would say, as me being me. And so you have to understand that you do provide value. And that's something that I've had to understand massively, because it can be something as simple as within the design world. I had an internship last year, and I spoke to my boss about this as well. Right towards the beginning, I had major imposter syndrome. I felt like I shouldn't be there. I shouldn't be doing this work because I'm not the best at X thing. And you see what's happened there? As soon as I've put in comparison, I have just thrown away any value that I provide. I have thrown away any self-confidence I had, because I'm comparing myself to a designer who may have 30 years experience. I'm comparing myself to other designers who have skill sets which are way above myself in, say, visual communication or something like that. But that doesn't matter, because I could provide value in what I know about inclusive design, in what I know about problem solving and ideating, and even communicating in new ways, communicating in ways that even within my internship, some people hadn't seen so strongly before, with my skills as a public speaker, with my skills as a video editor. There are so many ways that people saw value in a different way, even though I was still comparing myself to a different skill set, to a different person, to a different imaginary persona of this amazing designer that I was creating in my head. And so the thing that brought me back to being me and having confidence that I deserve to be there in that internship and I deserve to be doing the amazing work that we were doing there was because I did provide value. And I provided value which others couldn't provide. And that's something we have to understand. And we don't understand it enough. We as individuals, each and every single one of us in this now 7 billion plus people on this planet, provide value in our services, but also in just us as human beings. And we so need to recognize that. And I think another element within this that I learned even from my internship is celebrating the wins. Because a lot of the time we focus on all about that it is how you react from a failure. It is how you react from a setback. 100% it is. How you react from a failure and being able to then grow from there and improve is massive. But we don't talk about enough of what do you do when you win? What do you do when you get those little W's in life? What do you do when something actually goes right? And this isn't then the case to then say you go out to the pub and you have 10 drinks and you get silly drunk and have a great time that way. It's understanding that you need to celebrate. Don't need to always celebrate in that way, but you need to celebrate more moments in your life where you actually realize where your value came into fruition, where you used your value that you have in your skills, in your career, in you as an individual, your persona of you authentically as you, provided value. Those moments we need to celebrate more, because we let them pass by too much. And instantly, in letting them pass by, you miss an experience which then builds your self-confidence. And that is a major blow. If you miss that, and you miss that multiple times, that's how you get into a negative mindset. That's how you get into a mindset of where you have low confidence, because you don't recognize all the amazing things that you've done and all the amazing value that you provide as an individual. And that's another thing that I would highly recommend to people, is that you have to take time to actually, even to the point of write down where you have provided value. So much of how we can help ourselves in looking after our mental health and improving our confidence So much of research leans towards this idea of self-affirmations and memories and experience. And that's why when you look at Snapchat memories, when you look at pictures, you have fond memories, you have fond visualizations that go on in your head. Your brain lights up in being able to remember these crazy moments, these moments that may be funny, that may be sad, that maybe taught you something. Those memories are massive. And that's why we have to use also our memories and our experience of where we provided value to build our self-confidence. Because self-confidence isn't just built on self-affirmations. It is built upon your experience. And understanding the value that you provide as an individual is built upon your experiences. Your memories and your experiences is what makes me understand with my own memories and experiences of why I am valuable to others, but most importantly, why I am valuable as me to myself. And that is what is so important. And that is what I feel that especially with students, you need to understand that no matter how many times people put you down, no matter how many times people say you can't do this or you can't do that, or no matter how many times you have that voice in your head that is telling you you can't do it, that you're not good enough, you've got to understand that you provide value. You are valuable. You as an individual are valuable. And if you don't believe me, the probability of you being alive and listening to this podcast right now and being here right now in this moment is so small. And the listening to the podcast bit is probably small because of the lack of subscribers and lack of influence at the moment with this podcast. But I can see it. It will grow. It will grow. But anyways, understanding how you are here in this moment, alive, and listening to this podcast and thinking and being able to think about stuff as deeply as this, there is something valuable about you. You are more than just an organism. You are more than just a mammal walking around surviving. You are so much more. That's why you, whoever is listening, are valuable. And you can, and just believe it with those self-affirmations, write down those experiences, remember those memories, those times where you have provided value, and understand you do provide value. No matter what people say, no matter how small the value may feel at the moment, you provide value and you are valuable. And once we understand this, that's how we can build our self-confidence. And ultimately, we can really reach this point on Maslow's hierarchy of needs of self-enlightenment in helping others to lead happy lives and helping others with the value that you provide to be able to help them also understand the value that they have as an individual and the value that they can provide as well. It's so much of a domino effect that we need to make sure that as individuals, we personally hold ourselves responsible to always remember we always have value and we are always valuable to others, no matter what that voice in your head is saying and no matter what others say. You have been listening to the Rob Talks podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and please make sure to subscribe, make sure to hit the follow button, and let me know in the comments below what you thought of this podcast episode. And I will see you next week for the next Rob Talks video. You have just been listening to the Rob Talks podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and please make sure to subscribe
and give me a follow on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, or even LinkedIn. And I will speak with you soon. Stay safe and have a great week.